Hi, I'm Mark Roland, retired colonel, and I want to introduce you to a training video on casualty notification. A subject I know quite well as I have been on both sides of the door. In 2015, I answered the knock on the door to see a team of airmen in service dress standing there asking if they could come into my home. Knocking on someone's door is the second worst thing I have ever done. Answering the knock is the worst. It is my hope that my experiences that I will share in this video may be of help to you if you are called on to perform this important and difficult duty. Notification is unpredictable and very emotional, and the only thing to guide you and support you is the process.
The Department of the Air Force provides dignified, compassionate, and humane notification to next of kin and other designated persons as promptly as possible after a member is placed in a casualty status. An Air Force notification team, comprised of a field-grade officer, chaplain, and a medical member, will officially notify the next of kin. The notifications are made to those listed on the member's Record of Emergency Data, or DD Form 93. Service Members Group Life Insurance Online Enrollment System Election Certificate, or SGLV 8286. At a minimum, notifications will include the spouse, children not residing with the spouse, parents, any beneficiaries, and persons authorized to direct disposition of human remains. Headquarters Air Force Casualty will task the notification responsibility to the nearest activity closest to the next of kin's residence to accomplish the casualty notification. This could be resources from active duty installations or Space Force installations, geographically separated units, Air National Guard units, Air Force Reserve units, as well as Reserve Officer Training Corps detachments. The notification is on behalf of the Air Force Chief of Staff for Airmen or Space Force Chief of Staff for Guardians. Casualty notification duties have priority over all other duties except emergencies and are accomplished in service dress uniform. An Air Force representative notifies the next of kin of deceased, duty status whereabouts unknown or dust one, and missing members in person whenever possible. Never make a notification alone. Authorized vehicles for use in accomplishing casualty notification include an Air Force sedan, an Air Force station wagon, a privately owned vehicle to be used only when military vehicles are not available. Submit a standard Form 1164 for reimbursement of expenditures on official business to the local finance service office. Reimbursement is chargeable to unit operation and maintenance funds. The Casualty Assistance Representative, or CAR, or Headquarters Air Force Casualty will provide the notification officer the next of kin's last known address. The notification officer should contact local law enforcement officials if assistance is necessary to protect the notification team in a dangerous area, or if they might help the officer locate the next of kin with rural route or post office box addresses. If it appears the next of kin is not at home, the notification officer should contact neighbors, the local police department, or local postmaster for information regarding next of kin's whereabouts without divulging too much information regarding the visit. Saying, "We have an important message to deliver on behalf of the Air Force Chief of Staff," is sufficient. If the notification team cannot locate the next of kin, or if the next of kin has moved from the area, immediately contact Headquarters Air Force Casualty for further guidance. A notification letter is not required when the member's commander personally notifies the next of kin. For all other notifications, a notification letter is completed by Headquarters Air Force Casualty and emailed to the Installation Casualty Assistance Representative or to the notification officer making the notification if the officer is located at a GSU, AFROTC detachment, or Air Force Reserve or Guard unit. The CAR or officer must print the letter as is and ensure it is error-free and add the notification officer's signature block. Once the letter is signed, the CAR or notification officer must ensure Headquarters Air Force Casualty receives a copy of the letter, and obtain any last-minute instructions prior to leaving. Never leave to make a notification without receiving Headquarters Air Force Casualty's permission to do so.
I was assigned as the PAS at the University of Kentucky in 2007, and as such, one of the few field grade officers available to perform this duty. I was tasked to perform the secondary casualty notification in Eastern Kentucky for the parents of an NCO who was killed in an auto accident in North Dakota. His wife was TDY, and his children were at Minot being cared for by a third party. The parents resided in Eastern Kentucky, about a 3-hour drive from Lexington. I had already departed for home when my NCOIC got the call from Randolph. He started the paperwork process while I continued home, donned service dress, and returned to the deck to review the casualty notification notebook I had been given 4 years earlier in commander's orientation, which had collected dust all that time. Prior to that, I had received training in 1990 as Operation Desert Shield was ramping up. I took my NCOIC with me, and not knowing any more about the area we were heading to, we called local law enforcement for backup. My thought was, lacking support from clergy or medical professionals, having sheriff's deputies with us would put any response we needed at our fingertips. It was dark when we departed, and we met law enforcement at the local convenience store a few miles from the home. They waited in the background as we knocked on the door. The father answered the door and pretty much knew right away that we were delivering bad news. He gathered his wife, they sat down, and we delivered the notification, telling him what we knew and that the children were safe and being notified, and his daughter-in-law was being notified at her TDY location. We left them with instructions, telling them they would soon be contacted by their son's unit at Minot and casualty assistance from Wright-Patterson. I left with the feeling that I wish I could have done more and had more information to tell them about what was to come next.
The notification officer should be cognizant of their surroundings and can always contact local law enforcement to accompany them to an address. Identify him or herself as a representative of the Air Force Chief of Staff. Make sure they are speaking to the correct person or persons by confirming the identity of the next of kin. And paraphrase the circumstances described in the notification letter. Don't hurry your words. Speak as naturally as possible. Don't extend overly sympathetic gestures that may be taken the wrong way. Don't physically touch the next of kin in any manner. Avoid making detailed statements about the incident. Give the notification letter to the next of kin. State that the member's commander will send a letter explaining the circumstances of the incident. Refer the next of kin to the Home Installation Commander for information on CONUS casualties or Headquarters Air Force Casualty for information on overseas casualties. If you notice there are minors present, allow the adult next of kin to choose if they want the children present in the room. If they do not want the children present, provide time for them to dismiss the children to another area of the home where they will not hear the initial notification in details. The Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, or TAPS, a non-governmental organization, has created a handout tool sharing advice on how to tell children of the death during a notification. This pamphlet provides safe language and concepts to hold discussions with the children as they learn of the death. It also advises how the children may deal with the grief and mourning. If the children remain, keep the message simple as you relay the manner of the death. Refrain from sharing overly graphic or unnecessary details. If the adults or parents have more questions on details, recommend you share those level of details after the children are no longer present, or share that the death may be pending an investigation with multiple complex factors that may not be answered for the moment. Inform the next of kin eligible for casualty assistance that a car will contact them within 24 hours to arrange for personal casualty assistance at their convenience. Verify the next of kin's name, home address, and telephone number. If there is another notification team en route to a different next of kin, we will let you know to inform the next of kin. For CONUS casualties, inform the next of kin, as indicated in the notification letter, that a mortuary affairs representative will contact them regarding mortuary affairs. For all overseas AOR casualties, aircraft accidents, and accidents involving multiple casualties, Headquarters Air Force Mortuary Services will contact them regarding mortuary affairs. Stay with the next of kin as long as needed, but depart the residence in a professional manner and within a reasonable period of time. Ask if the next of kin has someone who will stay with them, or if they wish to call someone to stay with them. Do not leave the members next of kin alone, and do not depart the premises until positively seeing that next of kin will have someone with them when you're ready to depart. The following is not to be discussed with the next of kin. Do not answer questions about survivor benefits, burial, or similar matters. Do not discuss compensation-related questions dealing with insurance, gratuities, arrears of pay, and so forth. Do not answer questions relating to line of duty, negligence, errors in judgment, or the responsibility of other personnel concerned with the incident. Do not answer questions relating to mortuary affairs. Under normal circumstances, the notification officer will not have any further contact with the next of kin. An exception might occur when an individual is declared dust one. In this case, the notification officer may be initially called upon to notify the next of kin of this status, and again later if the individual is declared deceased or missing.
As I walked to the hall, turned on the lights, and started down the steps, I saw several people in Air Force service dress through the glass. I knew. Standing at the door was a whole entourage: the notification officer, a chaplain, a doctor, and a mental health professional. They were here to tell us that our son had been killed in action in Afghanistan less than 12 hours earlier. I let them in and called my wife, and as she looked into the entryway, it instantly registered what was taking place. She turned, let out a scream, and disappeared into the bedroom. I turned, and she reemerged dressed to face what we knew was coming. We didn't even give the casualty notification officer an opportunity to recite his well-practiced narrative. We invited them in and sat in our family room as they proceeded to tell us of our son's loss and what was to come in the immediate future. From that point, we were on autopilot. In very short order, we were introduced to our family assistance representative and were whisked off to Dover that afternoon for the dignified transfer. On our return from the dignified transfer, as the next of kin, we received a visit from the Casualty Assistance Team and Airmen and Family Readiness from Wright-Patterson, the nearest Air Force installation to our home, regarding burial and benefits. Our son's unit arranged memorial services and traveled to Hurlburt for those ceremonies and to Arlington for his burial. All the burial arrangements were made by Mortuary Affairs, and he was escorted to Arlington.
After the notification is complete, and immediately after leaving the next of kin's residence, call Headquarters Air Force Casualty Services at their toll-free number. Provide the following information. Time notification was completed. The next of kin's name, address, and telephone number. Unusual events or comments made by the next of kin. And information on other family members to be notified by the next of kin or Headquarters Air Force Casualty. Thank you for your service to aid and assist with the notification of the surviving next of kin. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your installation casualty assistance representative or to the Air Force Casualty Office at the number on your screen. After the notification, if you should become overwhelmed by your experience, please talk with a military family life counselor or a chaplain as soon as possible. Your safety and well-being is important to us, as this is a difficult and sometimes very emotional duty to perform.
I have a few closing remarks I would like to share from what I've learned from my 2 notification experiences. You are never prepared to make that notification. Understand that after you say, "I regret to inform you," nothing else is understood by the family until later. When there is a knock on the door of a family of a service member by uniformed officers, there are no longer any surprises, just questions. Expect the unexpected. While the notification team knew our background as an Air Force retiree and spouse, our reaction is not what they expected. Be flexible. You really never know, nor can you be prepared for the reaction you will receive. Be human and compassionate. When the notification is given, answers are not available, just the process. So know the process. I wish I had periodically reviewed the notification process. I wish I had had a better understanding of the immediate follow-on actions so I could have given the family more on what was to come. Finally, you never expect to give anyone this news. Expect it. Make the procedural review routine. Some units may have a higher expectation of occurrence and may prepare, but not an ROTC commander at a university. Thank you for your time, and please review the notification process as often as you need.